Stay tuned for Building Knowledge with Building and Realty Institute host Jeff Hanley. Mr. Hanley is the Associate Director of BRI. And every Friday morning at 11:30, you'll have the opportunity of learning to build your knowledge about planning, insurance, environmental regulations, and everything you need to know on the local level to build your knowledge. Here now is Jeff Hanley.
Good morning and a happy Friday to all. Welcome to Building Knowledge with the Building and Realty Institute, the official radio show of the Building and Realty Institute, which is also known as the BRI. I am Jeff Hanley, Associate Executive Director of the BRI, and your host. We thank you for joining us this morning on WVOX 1460 AM and WVOX.com. For first-time listeners, we will explain what the Building and Realty Institute is. The BRI is a building, realty, and construction industry membership organization. Our association is composed of more than 1,800 members in 14 counties of New York State. Those members are involved in virtually every sector of the building, realty, and construction industry. The BRI represents our members and the building, realty, and construction industry on a virtual 24/7 basis. If you're a member of the industry, the building, realty, or construction industry, we are there for you around the clock. And we are happy once again to say that we are marking the 71st anniversary of our formation throughout this year. We're very, very proud of that. Our guest this morning on Building Knowledge with the Building and Realty Institute is David Singer, a principal of the well-known Robison oil firm here in Westchester and the Mid-Hudson region. David is a longtime member and supporter of the BRI. He supports many of our programs, and we're certainly very, very happy to have him on with us this morning. David, welcome, my friend.
Good morning. Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. Warming up a little bit from the weekend, but we're here.
We really appreciate you taking the time out from your busy schedule to join us this morning on WVOX 1460 AM and WVOX.com. David, why don't you give us a little overview about what Robison Oil does for residents of the Westchester County and Mid-Hudson region?
Well, thanks, Jeff. Robison has been a heating oil supplier and service company in Westchester and this region since 1920. We're a third-generation company that's been continuously servicing heating oil since we started converting buildings from coal back in the 20s. Over the years, the company, just by servicing our homes and our businesses and our commercial properties and real estate owners like your clients, we've evolved into a number of services that basically assist the real estate owner. So over the years, we've added a full complement of air conditioning, heating, cooling, gas, oil, electricity service. We do generator maintenance and installation. We do mold detection and remediation, air duct cleaning, carpet cleaning, home energy auditing and installation. We do local 87 and 84 auditing for commercial properties. It's really all of our services evolved from our connection with our customers and just meeting their needs that have evolved over the years. It started when we met their need to convert from coal to oil, and now we're doing a lot of oil to gas conversions. And, whatever the clients end up needing is where we fit in.
Very good. Thanks for the summary, David. There was an article earlier this week in the Journal News, an outstanding article on the challenges that you and Daniel Singer, who's the co-principal of Robison Oil, and your entire firm faced with this intense amount of cold weather. Media reports have said that there was a 30-plus day stretch where temperatures were below 30 degrees, the longest such stretch since 1961. Obviously, a long time ago, and that is some kind of long, cold, hard stretch. You described the pressure on your company and members of your firm and conditions facing our region as the perfect storm. You guys did a tremendous job getting many, many people through. It was a very difficult and dangerous situation. Can you give us a summary of the overview of that article, David?
Yeah, absolutely. It really was a convergence of a lot of different factors that probably will never really repeat themselves again. One of the most important factors that it didn't entail was a shortage of product. We've had, incidences, if you want to go back, 20, 30, 40 years where we couldn't get product, and that's always scary. This was really just really a matter of logistics where the demand for the product just exceeded the capacity to deliver it in that short period of time. You've got a lot of factors involved, particularly in Westchester where your audience is listening. The union, which did an outstanding job, I got to tell you, these guys worked 24/7 for that entire stretch of weather. At the end of the day, unlike natural gas, this is being delivered by human beings. And I got to say, when push came to shove, these guys really, really performed. But you also have to understand these guys all come from the construction industry.
Right.
So as you see now with these mild, Novembers and Decembers, you're seeing construction and road work lasting deep into the winter. And it was very difficult pulling men off of construction onto oil driving in the earlier part of the month. I'm not faulting anybody because both industries had their demands, so I understand it. But I think we have to plan a little bit better between the oil industry and the construction industry, how we're going to approach the winters. When we're having a mild November and they want to continue working on construction, we have to realize that eventually it's going to get cold and we're going to need these guys on oil. So we're working all that out. So you had that, and that was probably going to cause difficulties at some point anyway. But then when you bring in this cold snap, it really pushed us to the level that we were exceeding how many drivers you actually had on the road. And then the worst of it really came when the weather got so extreme that the utilities, the gas utilities, it's not so prevalent here in Westchester, but it's very prevalent within the 5 boroughs, start shutting down gas supply to apartment buildings and requiring them to go on heating oil during extreme cold weather.
I did not know that.
You can only imagine, yeah.
Wow.
So I'm just saying, you can only imagine that you have your regular firm heating oil customers who need their oil, and now all of a sudden you have 400 or 500 apartment buildings also needing oil. The oil was there. The trucks and the drivers and the people were really stressed.
Wow.
Yeah.
In all your years of being involved with Robison Oil, would you describe that stretch as one of the most, or perhaps even the most difficult time spans that you and Robison went through? That is intense pressure.
Yeah, look, when you show up late with the delivery of the newspaper, people are upset in the morning. But when you show up late with the delivery of oil, it's another level. So the pressure is hard, and all the employees understand that, so they take it to heart. So they're not like sitting here saying, oh, too bad. They're all, our employees are just as stressed out as the customers they're talking to. But, we've been there, done that. It happens, we haven't seen it in the last 2 or 3 winters, but there's cold snaps and it's cold. We just don't remember it. I haven't worn my hat and gloves in 4 years, but I wore them last week. And, it's what we do. And yeah, the suddenness and severity of this was unusual. But, cold weather is what all the oil guys and the heating guys do. And, just kind of took a punch in the belly, and now we're ready to go the next round.
Sounds great. You're listening to Building Knowledge with the Building and Realty Institute on WVOX 1460 AM and WVOX.com. I'm Jeff Hanley, Associate Executive Director of the Building and Realty Institute, and your host. Our guest this morning is David Singer, Principal of Robison Oil, and a longtime member and participant in the BRI and all of its many, many programs. Energy prices. We're asked that at the BRI. I'm sure you guys are asked that on a continuous basis. Where do you see energy prices going for the remainder of the winter, David?
I'm optimistic, Jeff. I really am, because as extreme as this weather week was, and you certainly got a pop just because you get that whenever, I don't care if you're selling, ice cream. If there's a big demand for it, you're going to get a pop in the price. But we're looking at, when you look ahead after this week and into the outer months, when you go to Wall Street, and you look in the newspaper, they're not showing very much movement at all. In fact, they're just showing some decreases now that this cold snap is over. So my feeling is, again, it all relates to the ultimate supply picture, and there's plenty of gas, natural gas, plenty of it, and there's plenty of heating oil. We're producing more and more domestically. And if you really look at, the best indicator of this is Wall Street, because, those guys do this for a living, and they have people. Remember, whenever you see a trade on Wall Street, there's someone that thinks it was smart to sell it, and there's someone that thinks it was smart to buy it. Right. And inevitably, somebody is wrong, So it's just a guess. And Wall Street right now, if you look out at what they're seeing in the futures of the energy, gas, and oil, is it's been very flat, almost going out 36, 48 months, 2 or 3 years. They're not seeing very much movement. So that's great. It's great for your clients. It's great for my clients. It's and cheap energy is good for everybody.
It's great for the region as whole. No doubt about that, David. No doubt about it. What is on your "oh no, I hope this doesn't happen" list that would affect energy prices in a negative way? Are those international events? Are they economic situations domestically? Do you have a list of 2 or 3 you might want to share with us?
Absolutely. The short-term things that drive up prices, short-term, is weather events. Like last week when waterways started freezing and barges couldn't get in, oil starts going to the highest bidder, and that just happens. But in the bigger picture, it's really going to be stuff that, scares Wall Street, because, the product is there. So it's just going to be stuff that would make Wall Street scared. So what would that be? Obviously, any geopolitical event would make Wall Street scared. Any negative effects on the economy or European economies would make Wall Street scared. But other than that, there's really no drivers pushing the price up other than some kind of event that would create, really a transactional issue, not a real supply issue.
Got it. David, as you well know, the Building and Realty Institute is composed of a group of realty management associations. We have our Cooperative and Condominium Advisory Council, which is, of course, composed of co-ops and condos. We have our Apartment Owners Advisory Council, which is composed of rental apartment buildings and complexes. And we have our Managing Agents Council, our Property Managers Council, known as the Advisory Council of Managing Agents. So the following question is definitely applicable to each of the 3 BRI entities that I just described. What can property managers of a co-op, a condo, or a rental building do to increase energy efficiency in their respective complexes? I know that's a huge question. I know it's of a general basis. But if you can give us a few bullet point descriptions, that would be great.
All right. That certainly is, the big question that everybody asks, and every building is different. I break it down when I look at these things, and this is how a real estate professional owner should look at a building or a house. It's basically 3 systems in the house that we care about. There's a lot of things like kitchen cabinets and refrigerators and stuff that I don't even care about. That's my wife's problem. But the stuff that we care about in the energy business and in the HVAC heating and cooling business is 3 basic systems. Your first system is your combustion system. That's the equipment. That's the stuff that's making the heating and making the cooling. That has to be tuned up, and it should be running at 80 to 90% efficiency. It should be state-of-the-art. There's a lot of nice new controls that you can install on your systems, computerized controls that modulate the systems better, ramp them up in a more gradual way and ramp them down in a more gradual way, so you're not using as much energy on the stop-and-go type of old systems. So that's your combustion, and that's for heating and cooling, and that needs to be looked at and maintained in a high-efficient manner. And if your equipment's running at 75, 80%, You can get equipment today that runs at 90%, so inevitably you're going to save money. The next part of your system that's important is your distribution system. How does that combustion get around the building or home? Well, it's either going to go around through ductwork or it's going to go around through water pipes. Those two systems have to be efficient. You need circulators that are working and zone valves that are working and thermostats that are working, and you need ductwork that's not leaking and sized properly and not wasting air and energy and blowing air and heat where it's not needed. So that's your distribution system. That's a system in and of itself that could be wasting energy just by itself. You could have the greatest brand new combustion equipment, but if your distribution system is antiquated or not working, you're wasting money. It's like putting a brand new engine in a car with bad tires. The next part of the system, the third and final system, is the envelope of the building, the ceiling of the building. So now you got a beautiful new engine, you got great tires, but you don't have any doors or windows.
Right.
It's not a good way to drive. So you got to lock down the ceiling of the building, the roof, the doors, the windows, the pipe wrapping, so you're not wasting energy through leaks and bad environment. Now, what happens in a home or an office is the guy says, okay, I'm going to seal this up so tight, now I have no air. Now all of a sudden I have bad air. So it has to be done by a professional. But those are your three systems that if you get each one of those finely tuned and operating, you can save a fortune. Problem is each one of those are independent expertise that has to be looked at.
And to have those three components looked at, I would say, and I think you'd agree with me on this, let the professionals be the professionals. Call in your consultant, call in your specialist, listen to what they have to say. Don't do any guesswork. Am I on target with that, David?
You're 100% on target. And in fact, there's standardized auditing protocols that test those three elements of a building that a professional, BPI, certified building professional, certified auditor, he knows the protocol. And he goes in and he tests those three systems and he gives you a report on how you're doing. It's standard protocol. We do that, of course. I'd be remiss if I didn't plug myself right now.
Well, this is certainly the time to do it, and I'm glad you did. Absolutely. You guys are based in Elmsford, correct, David? You're based in Elmsford?
Yes, we're in Elmsford and in Queens and Mount Kisco.
Okay. Very good. You're listening to Building Knowledge with the Building and Realty Institute, the official radio program of the Building and Realty Institute, also known as the BRI. I'm your host, Jeff Hanley. I'm also the Associate Executive Director of the BRI, and with us this morning is David Singer, a principal of Robison Oil. We're talking about energy issues and all the many fine services that Robison Oil provides to consumers in the Westchester County and Mid-Hudson region. David, earlier you mentioned oil to gas conversions. Frequently, consistently, we're asked at the BRI for assessments on what should be done for a multifamily building regarding oil to gas conversions. Can you give us a few bullet points on what you would recommend to a property manager, an owner of a rental apartment building or complex, a co-op or condo board?
Absolutely. I'll tell you the broad answer that they should do, and then I'm going to advertise for Robison again.
Sounds good.
The big answer is everybody can't get natural gas. That's obviously why, there's still many pockets of heating oil left. I mean, there's a finite amount of pipe. The pipe carries a finite amount of gas, and literally you could have one building on the street have gas and nobody else on the street can get it because he's using it all. That happens. So you have to wait for the utility to either bring in more gas capacity or you never can get gas. So now the question is, well, how do I know if I can get it? You'll actually find a lot of buildings that have gas-heated hot water but use oil for heat. So a landlord or a building owner might say, wow, of course, if I have gas hot water, of course, I'll just convert the rest of the building to gas. But the reason why you have only gas hot water and not gas heat is there's not enough capacity to provide enough gas to heat a whole building, just enough for hot water. So the way you go about doing that is you have to have a licensed plumber or company that's trained to do this, pull what they call a load letter. And that's when we go to the property, We do an analysis of what the demand of gas would be after it's converted. So we do an engineering analysis of what equipment would be installed and how much gas that equipment would need to heat the building or house. Then we write a letter to Con Ed with our readings, and that's why you have to be certified, because they don't want bad readings. They hold you accountable if it's not right. So then you send a letter to Con Ed and you say, or your utility, wherever you might be, and you say, I want to convert to gas, and I'm going to need 100,000 units a year to heat my building. They'll write back saying, no, can do, not enough gas on the block, or yes, there is enough gas. Mm-hmm. Or they might write back and say, there's not enough gas now, but in 2025 we expect to have enough gas. So that's the first step. You take any other steps before that, you're wasting your time. So what we do is we pull the load letter for our clients. That's where the commercial comes in. We'll go to the building, we'll do the analysis, we pull the load letter, and then we find out what the plan is. The next part is they may say, okay, there's enough gas on the street for you to use it, but your building is too far from the street, so you have to pay for the pipes to get it from the street to the building. And that could be a deal breaker by itself, because that could be, ripping up parking lots or landscaping and all kinds of stuff. So those are your two first steps. First, is there enough gas? And second, will they bring the pipes to my building if there is enough gas? Once you get the answers to those questions, the rest is easy.
Got it. By the way, we'd like to remind our listeners that we do accept calls into the station here at WVOX 1460 AM. If you have a question for David, please feel free to call the station at 914-636-0110. We are absolutely waiting for your questions or any comments you may have on these energy issues that we are discussing this morning. David, about how many people are based in your Elmsford facility, your Elmsford office?
We have probably between customer service and dispatchers and everybody else here, there's probably 120 people in this facility. And then on the road that don't actually come to the office, but, go to different loading depots, and the service technicians actually take their vans home with them so they can respond to calls at night if they have to. And we'll put another 100 people out on the road every day.
Got it. Why don't you give us the phone number for your Elmsford office, should any of our listeners have any questions about energy issues or any of the services that Robison Oil can offer them?
Sure. We're at 914-345-5700. But, as it is today, I would encourage people to go to robisonoil.com. They could, send in directly to me or to anybody else, or just the general box. I generally get every email that's sent to the customer service department. I get CC'd on it, so a lot of customers are surprised when they write in for something, then all of a sudden I write back saying, okay, and they're like, what? So just send in an email and definitely it gets read.
That's great. And your other office, again, is located where, Dave?
We're in the Executive Office Park in Elmsford. Right off of 287. That's where my office sits, and then we have neighborhood operational areas.
And you had mentioned earlier in the program that there's an office in Queens. Did I misunderstand that? I'm sorry.
Yes, no, we actually have an office in Little Neck, Queens, that services our accounts. It's in the 5 boroughs. We have a sister company, which many of your listeners might know, called Original Energy. Original Energy is the original company of the Singer family's involvement in the oil industry. It was started by my grandfather, and it serviced the 5 boroughs, was started in the Bronx and also in the 20s, and with my grandfather and his brother. And we've continued that brand and have continued to grow that business. That business has converted from what was once one of the largest number 6 oil heating companies in the 5 boroughs. It now converted to almost exclusively natural gas and number 2 oil. And so trying to keep up with the times.
Sounds great. And if someone wanted to learn more about Original Energy, would robisonoil.com be the place to go for that?
It would refer you if you wanted to click on commercial services, but originalenergy.com is out there.
Okay.
We have active Facebook and LinkedIn pages, and we're always kind of putting information out there. So if you follow us on either Original Energy or Robison Oil on Facebook or LinkedIn, we're always putting up tips. Last week I posted how to start your snowblower after a long summer. So you never know what tip might be needed when it comes up.
That is an absolutely great tip. But I had some problems last week, man. That's a great tip. I wish I knew about that. I'll have to pay more attention to your website. Yeah. Earlier in the broadcast, you mentioned the union that was involved in that really intense week that you guys had. Could you give the name of the union? I just wanted to give them some recognition for the fine work they did as well.
Oh, absolutely. Big shout out to the Teamsters of Local 456. These guys work. They are my service technicians. They're Local 456, as well as my drivers and truck mechanics. And I'll tell you, they were beyond anything I expected.
David, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us this morning on Building Knowledge with the BRI. We thank our listeners. We hope you'll join us next Friday, 11:30 a.m. here on WVOX and WVOX.com. Have a great day.